What's up, guys? Welcome into the program. Ready for another one today for the pre-Friday celebration, baby. We're almost there. Almost on the home stretch. Hopefully you guys are having a great one. We're trying to get all the live streams up and going here, so hang tight. We're getting everything up and moving. Do-do-do-do. Yeah, what's up, guys? Welcome. Hello, hello. Scott, what's up on Podbean? I have a few people jumping on the YouTube. Also have a few.
Till broadcast.
Getter. Getter's the big one. We got Getter going. We got to get the Getter. Opslens is up on there, so if you do have a Getter account, you can like us there. We have some great followers every day on the program, at least on that one, so that's awesome. I should probably share it out, though. Hold on. That would help. Join the program. There's that. Like it out. You realize how most of your days on your phone now? Good golly. All right, coming up on the program today, no guest. Just you and I chit in the chat doing our thing today, so got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about what we haven't been able to get to the last few days. We will comment on the train derailment in Ohio. Now another one up in Michigan. The balloons in China and Russia. You ever hear of the boy who cried wolf? Yeah, that's kind of the scenario we're in now. So we'll get to all that. Plus we have John Fetterman.
Till broadcast.
That's apparently not in Washington, D.C. right now, so that's interesting. I mean, I guess that's good for us with one Democrat being down, so. Okay, there we go. I think we're ready to go.
30 seconds till broadcast.
Trying to wrap up some odds and ends here for the day. What a day it's been. All right, if you are on the live streams, then welcome aboard. Thanks for hanging out today. Radio program starting up momentarily. Like it out, share it out, leave that comment. Let's have some fun on a program today. The theme, the topic today is going to be called Trains, Balloons, and Vegetables. And yes, you have to do it with the question mark response as well. Hang tight.
4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
You're darn right it is. Welcome into the program, the pre-Friday celebration, by far one of the greatest days of the entire week. For some reason, Tuesdays and Thursdays, man, they are prime. They are primo. Obviously, Friday's a fun day, but Tuesdays and Fridays get the least amount of credit of awesomeness that we have all throughout the week. Welcome into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you watch or listen to the show, welcome aboard your Millennial General reporting for duty like we do every single day. Today is finally the day we get to touch on some stuff we have not had a chance to talk about in a very long time, or at all even in some cases. No guest. Our guest actually had to reschedule for today, so it's just you and I sitting across the bar, staring each other down, chitting the chat, and having the conversations that we need to have like we do each and every day. So there's a lot we want to cover today. We have presidential announcements. We have balloons. We have the theme for today. I'm going to call today's program the program on trains, balloons, and vegetables. Oh, yes. And I mean vegetables in numerous different ways. You can try and articulate which way that we actually mean, right? which I think would classify most of what the elected officials in Washington, D.C. being the vegetables they are, not actually getting anything done. So, let's start off there, because before we get into the major topic of the day, just as I was going into the top of the hour, getting everything ready for the program, trying to finish up my show prep on what we wanted to talk about today, I had heard this news headline, and I had to chuckle a little bit because, show of hands, how many are parents or grandparents out there in the listening audience? How many of you allow your kids just to do whatever they want to do and eat or not eat, whatever they want to eat or not want to eat when you actually sit them down for dinner? I told you a while ago, there's a program it's on Hulu right now. I don't know what actual network is actually broadcasting it on TV, but it's called The Parent Test, or The Parent Challenge, or The Parent Test, whatever it's called, where they have these different styles of parenting, and they challenge them to see whether their styles of parenting actually work or not for their children. And there's a few on there that are decent. There's a few other ones that are not so decent, like the the child-led, and the negotiation style of parenting, meaning I'm going to negotiate with you on everything. You have to do something small, and then as a reward, by doing something that you should normally be doing, then I'll give you a treat. Almost like an animal, almost like a dog. If you go and clean your room, then you can have ice cream later. Instead of eat your damn room, go and clean it, or else you're not going to get something, because that's just the way things need to be. I'm sure most parents, at least in our listening audience, agree the fact that negotiating with your child is not the best way of parenting in any way, shape, or form, or even child-led, meaning you can do whatever you want to. We're going to be hands-off and just let you take the reins and do whatever, and we're just going to be along for the ride because we're your best friend. Those styles of parenting, obviously, were some of the first ones that were voted off on the TV show because they're absolutely stupid. But that's a lead up to, I heard this news headline right at the top of the hour on our local stations and in some of the news that I've seen online that I had to chuckle a little bit because, well, let me just play this and then we can get your response.
In 20 American states, more than half of kids ages 1 to 5 years old don't eat a vegetable every day. And in 40 states, more than half of young kids are already drinking sugar-sweetened beverages. That's according to new CDC survey results through January 2022. The agency found the rates varied widely by a variety of factors, but even among just families who say they can afford always to eat good meals, nearly half say their young kids aren't eating vegetables every day.
Wow. That audio from CBS News is the one who ran the report. Half of kids across the nation are not eating vegetables, it's not even like I don't have access to them, I'm too poor to be able to get them, which is a load of crap anyways. Even if you do have the food card, the EBT card, or the SNAP program, whatever, the WIC program to be able to feed your family, it's still cheaper for you to get vegetables than it is to get cheesy poops and all the fried foods and everything else that you can get at the store. So even whether you're poor or you have the expendable cash to get whatever you need, half of kids don't eat their vegetables today. I find that interesting in a world where we have major health issues and we rely so heavily on a healthcare industry because everybody in their kitchen sink has some form of a heart disease. Everybody in their kitchen sink has some form of threats of heart attack or diabetes, or remember that TV, diabetes. Not that I'm making fun of diabetes in any way, shape, or form because it's a horrible disease, but you could solve a lot of these issues. Heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, any of these, obesity, extreme obesity, whatever, although they say that that's fat shaming in some weird way, that somehow that those are all things that now you just need to take pills for, when in fact all you have to do is just make your kids eat the damn vegetables at the table. Little voice of reason, thank God that she's awesome like this. She does not fight a whole lot of this. She tries to tell us once in a while, I don't like this, but we tell her you can't get up until you eat it. Or you at least have to try it a couple of times if it's something new. Or she tries to play the I'm too tired, I just want to go to bed. And we say, fine, okay, then we put it in the fridge and you eat it for breakfast tomorrow, knowing you're not going to get out of it, for one. And number two, it's probably going to taste worse reheated up in the morning as a leftover than it is later on. So, if she's obviously not hungry, then she's not hungry and we'll just make her eat it later. But you're not going to get away from eating certain things that are healthy for you that we know are good for you and that you need to eat. But the fact that parents are just okay with this, 50%, the majority of kids, especially in households where they can afford the high-end stuff, even the raw stuff or the whatever the hippie stuff is nowadays that's out there that's like, no pesticides and stuff, no GMOs, whatever else they try and say that's out there that's all fresh and clean and healthy for you. that even 50% of them say they don't even eat their vegetables. Come on, man. I had to throw that out there for all the parents that are just cringing right now because they realize, wait a second, what the hell's going on with the kids out there? And then you make them realize that later, when they grow up, they're not going to eat and have very good eating habits, and then you're going to see all the health issues, and then we wonder, gee, the healthcare system's broken because everybody's always sick all the time. Really? Blows my mind. All right, let's get into what's trending. What do you say? We spent enough time on that.
What's trending today?
Let's get into the train derailment first off in Ohio. Speaking of health issues, the mainstream media is still not covering this as much as it needs to be. We actually have Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary right now, that has kind of sidelined this and saying, well, you know, trains just kind of crash all the time. It's not a big deal. It's not that big of an issue. Don't worry about it.
While this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
So that's the justification that Pete Buttigieg has, the head of the transportation department in Washington, D.C., who, by the way, is supposed to be centralizing all of the transportation, the infrastructure that's supposed to be upgraded across the nation based on this multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure package that we have nationwide right now. And he just blows it off as, well, there's about 1,000 derailments of trains nationwide every year. Not a big deal. Now, the fact that this one had some chemicals on it, and in fact, some chemical experts and chemical handlers in the local area of Palestine, Ohio, say that we've essentially just destroyed an entire city.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open. I was kind of surprised that when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
That was from WKBN Radio, as that was their actuality from there. That guy's name was Sil Caggiano, who's a hazardous material specialist, and we've essentially nuked a town. We've nuked a town with the chemicals that have spilled over in here, in our mainstream media and the federal government just looking the other way. Not a big deal. In fact, this happens all the time.
While this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
The reason this has gotten so much attention is because if you look outside of the United States for just a second, I know it's hard to do at times, and while you don't trust our mainstream media here in the U.S., in fact, a lot of people don't trust our mainstream media here in the U.S., if you go outside of the United States and you look at some of the media, they are comparing this train derailment spill of chemicals as our U.S. version of Chernobyl. Which, if you don't know what Chernobyl is, you can look it up. You don't watch the movie. Read the documents first before you watch the movie, because the movie's kind of creepy. But they're saying this is equivalent to Chernobyl here in the United States with how bad this is. People are getting sick. They're concerned about water contamination in a vast area with everybody's drinking water. Pets are just keeling over and dying. People are getting nauseous or having headaches or having major issues. It is a major issue, and yet the Environmental Protection Agency is going out there just to interview individuals, not sending an entire fleet. For those that don't know, a couple of months ago, here in the Kansas area where I come from, in Washington County, which is right up near the Nebraska-Kansas border, we had the very first Keystone oil pipeline spill with like 14,000 barrels of oil that spilled in our area. They are still cleaning that up. They said that it's cost over $13 million, whatever it's been, to try and clean this effort up here in Kansas. And the EPA's been all over this, saying it's such a disaster. We have Democrats throwing a fit about oil, throwing a fit about oil pipelines, throwing a fit about drilling for oil because it's an environmental hazard, even though it's only happened once in the entire existence of the Keystone oil pipeline. They're throwing a fit. But yet now we have a train that has spilled massive amounts of chemicals under the watch of the current Department of Transportation and Pete Buttigieg, who's that secretary, who has no idea what the hell he's doing. And they say, well, not a big deal. We're going to go and interview people and knock on doors and just talk to people and walk around their homes and see what it's about and do some and if you want some free testing, we'll give you testing, but it's not mandatory. You can go about your day. You can go home. You can go about and do your thing. Now, the spill happened from the company of Norfolk Southern, who's the railroad company that handled that one. They've now had, according to the latest today,
What's trending today?
they've had now a secondary train derailment up in Michigan, in Van Buren Township in Michigan. Now, they say this one did not have chemicals to it, but another derailment as they investigate what the heck's going on. And the question is, what the heck's going on? Why are we seeing so many derailed? Why are we, 1,000 a year? I seem to find that quite unlikely. Coming from the Mid-America region myself, just basing it on experience from what I see, I don't see a whole lot of trains getting derailed. I can see that how it could possibly happen on occasion, on rare occasion, if a tree falls into the the rails and the train doesn't see it in time and it takes like a mile for it to stop. I can see issues like that. But for something just to completely go off, which apparently, according to the one in Ohio, where the chemical spill happened, they say that the axle broke. Okay, I can kind of see that. At the same time, what kind of maintenance are we doing to make sure these trains actually don't have these issues moving forward? I think that we should be focused on issues like that. But while we're focused on what the heck's going on and to make sure this doesn't happen again, under the watch of Pete Buttigieg in the transportation department, because he's supposed to be handling all of these things, this is what he's focused on right now.
We have heard way too many stories from generations past of infrastructure where you got a neighborhood, often a neighborhood of color, that finally sees the project come to them, but everyone in the hard hats on that project looking like, doing the good paying jobs, don't look like they came from anywhere near the neighborhood.
Okay. That's the latest that he has, is that, well, we need more construction projects, but we need construction projects from people that are actually in the communities that are of that diversity and that minority community to build them in their local areas. That's what he's focusing. He's working on diversity of the workforce as opposed to figuring out what the hell's going on to make sure we don't see another Chernobyl in the United States by chemical spills, killing off animals, killing off individuals, poisoning the water systems. And he's not that worried about it.
With Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out. 24 minutes past the hour. Radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. So we have two in the last week. Two train derailments, both from the same company. And, of course, the response from Pete Buttigieg has been, of course, during this entire thing is that, number one, well, not a big deal. There's 1,000 trains that get derailed every year, so the fact that this one just had some chemicals on it was just unfortunate, but really not that big of a deal. Number two, we need to focus on transparency issues like diversity to make sure the workforce doing construction projects in certain communities, the people with the hard hats look like the people that actually live there, because apparently that's a big thing. I guess that's what we need to focus on or something. The other reason is that, well, if we do see derailments from trains, it's probably because of the prior administration and Donald Trump, which is what he said. That's really what Pete Buttigieg said, according to Fox News. There was a tweet that was out. We've constrained by law on some areas of rail regulation. Now, remember, to them, the only reason accidents ever happen in the world and things that ever happen are because of the lack of government control in an industry. That's the way Democrats think. So you have to be in the mind, put on the hat right now, of a progressive liberal Democrat. I know that it stinks and it feels really, really weird, but do it for just a second, sit in their shoes for a minute. To them, the only way something ever gets fixed is if the government ends up passing regulations to control it. And therefore, there won't be any more accidents, right? That's the theory. So the tweet from Pete Buttigieg says, quote, we're constrained by law on some areas of rail regulation, meaning we're not allowed to regulate as much as we'd like to. Like, according to him, breaking rules withdrawn by the Trump administration in 2018 because of a law passed in Congress by 2015. Well, we are using the powers we do have to keep people safe. And of course, I'm always ready to work with Congress on furthering, or in some cases restoring, our capacity to address rail safety issues. Now, according to the investigation from the EPA and from whoever's doing the investigation on this railroad company, they say that it was not the brake issue that had an issue, but in fact, it was the axle that broke. So I'm not quite sure why the brakes have anything to do with the axle here, because he says that the reason this happened is because Trump deregulated the train industry and got rid of certain brakes and regulations on the brakes for ones that carry hazardous materials, and therefore that's why it broke. And if we could just restore those, then all of a sudden we wouldn't have these types of accidents, even though that has nothing to do with the incident. I'd like to remind you as well that Pete Buttigieg, by the way, is the guy that really has been a disaster from the Department of Transportation since he's taken office and taken that seat, which he was supposed to be the big hoorah, the new Democrat Party guy, the new big, young, flashy, cool, hipster kind of dude that was going to win over everybody. He's taken over, and since he's taken over, we've seen a hack into the aviation industry where we saw massive delays and cancellations of flights during the holidays, mind you, November and December of last year, where they're like, yeah, we're not quite sure what happened, but we're going to get things back on track. Then we had the infrastructure bill that was passed where many states are still waiting for that money, where they say things like this, the accidents from the train industry wouldn't happen again because we can actually upgrade some of the rail cars. We can upgrade some of the railways and actually, maintain things and fix things and upgrade things. A lot of states still waiting on that money. Hasn't quite happened yet. We're also seeing this disaster, multiple trains, but yet he's blaming Donald Trump, and they continue to focus on the consolidation and the centralization of power at the federal level. If the government can't handle what they're already doing, then you would think that maybe they would back off just a little bit and that we could handle it in the private sector where things seem to run relatively smoothly in the private sector, because if things do fail, then the business fails it well because people don't want it any longer. So while they look to consolidate healthcare, they look to consolidate this infrastructure, they look to consolidate environmental issues. They look to consolidate social programs. They look to consolidate the entire, essentially, the economy at the federal level by growing government programs. They can't handle the things they're already doing because the things that are already being handled are falling apart, which means either number one, you have a guy that's not qualified for it, or number two, the government just can't handle what they're already in charge of, which is a concern. Lots more coming up here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch The Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with The Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the voice of reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. you really need someone to guide you through them.
That plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit by no means. However, we talked about it, and I thought, our ancestors were so smart. They know, like, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
my leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
It's like, dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
Yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, just
mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say, apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Reason, common sense, rationale, whatever it takes. We make it happen. Welcome into the program. Thanks for hanging out today on the home stretch here for the last half hour of the program. It flies right on by. The train derailment, an absolute disaster. Pete Buttigieg at the helm of that one, blaming the Trump administration, of course, because, well, they got rid of brake regulations. And if we could just regulate things more, then it will get better for somehow, some way. If the government could just have more power, then all of a sudden things will get better, which is what they advocate for all the time. Welcome back into it. Trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time. Speaking of more government control, I'm starting to realize I'm sticking with my original theory on this balloon issue as well. I want to shift gears for just a minute. We could go on about the train derailment forever because it's an absolute disaster, and the fact that we now have our own U.S. version of Chernobyl, according to the foreign media outlets, calling it what it is, with how bad some of this stuff is. Even locals and hazardous waste material specialists saying, like, yeah, we nuked an entire town.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals.
I mean, when you have that type of mentality, it's not just, well, it's kind of bad, it could get worse, it could be worse. No, we nuked them.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open. I was kind of surprised that when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
Do you think that they're trying to downplay it to kind of stop the panic from the general population, the general public? Do you think they're trying to get rid of the panic? Don't panic, everything's fine, it's not a big deal. I mean, I know the government tries to, quote unquote, and I use this very loosely, protect us, not protect us from actual security issues, although they try to do so. The military, props to those guys for actually, and gals, for protecting us. But, I mean, psychologically, mentally, do you think they're really trying to protect us here of, well, it's way worse, we just don't want to let people know about this? I'm telling you, pretty soon we're going to see those commercials on TV. It'll be like, if you are involved in this or if you had exposure to, call this 1-800 number now. You know it's going to happen. but they're not telling us about any of it right now because it's all about the controlling the situation. Just like with the balloon issue, I'm sticking with my original theory here. Or the original theory is they botched the spy balloon from China so badly that now they're trying to overcompensate. You ever have one of those scenarios, maybe in a relationship, if you're early on in the relationship, or with your boss, with your work, where they catch you, and it's something stupid. They catch you maybe not working as hard as you should be, or maybe you got busted from your significant other because you were doing something you weren't supposed to be doing, and they're mad at you. You know that they're mad at you, so you're trying to overcompensate to make them happy again by doing really sweet things and really stupid things as well. If your boss is mad at you, you're like doing really, going above and beyond, doing extra projects. Hey, boss, check this out. I did this. Aren't you proud of me? Because you're trying to overcompensate for them because you feel guilty about what they busted you doing. Or with the relationship, they caught you doing something stupid, so now you bring home the flowers. Oh, no, there's totally not a reason why I bring home the flowers. No, there's no reason at all. You're just trying to overcompensate the happiness, and you realize you're doing that, and maybe even they realize you're doing that because you feel guilty. That's where the Biden administration's at right now when it comes to the balloons. They botched the Chinese spy balloon so badly, we knew when it launched, we knew where it was floating, we knew where it was going. We had days, even weeks before it even got over the U.S. Then by the time it got over the U.S., we caught it, we recognized it, people saw it in the general public and said, what the hell is that thing? And the government said, well, now there's nothing we can do because we don't want to shoot it down over a populated area. We need to wait until it gets over the ocean, then shoot it down. Meaning, we need to let it actually finish its mission and duty before we actually do anything about it. Then we shoot it down and we do the recovery. And China's like, yeah, that's great. We appreciate that. Can you bring it back to us? We'd really like it back. And I bet you we're probably going to do it, even though we don't announce it to the general public. They botched that so badly that now they're overcompensating. And they're overcompensating by either one of two ways. Either we're creating our own drones or let's call them UFOs for the sake of whatever they are, the unidentified flying objects, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, whatever you want to call them. We're creating our own intentionally to shoot them down to look like we're being proactive now and trying to be on the ball here, quote unquote. Or that's not ours, but it's just the general population. It's just drones from the public that, again, we're overcompensating for, and any little blip on our radar, we're just shooting down without even hesitation or thinking because we're trying to be proactive and overcompensate for the disaster that we had prior to, because that's the way Democrats in the Biden administration and really politicians in general, that's really the way that they're trying to act right now to win over the public's trust all over again. There is a headline from, and I'm trying to find it right now, from aviationweek.com, where apparently there is a balloon that a hobby club that's partnered with NOAA. If you don't know what NOAA is, I'm trying to find there it is, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the ones that check the weather for you. If you go to NOAA.gov, you can find the weather in your area. You can find all the trends of weather, whatever. That apparently there's a hobby club that had partnered with NOAA for a balloon that went missing around the time that we started randomly shooting things down from out of the sky. And while the government is saying we don't know what these things are, they're just coming out of the blue, we have no clue about them, two things is happening. Number one, we have private groups like this now saying we can't find the balloons that we actually put in the air to survey weather patterns. Number two, we now have the Biden administration calling on additional regulations for aviation and what's in our airwaves. I'm telling you. So now we have the government that's looking for more government regulation on train derailments, because if we only had more regulation, that way we could solve these. We now have as well saying that we need more government regulation on the airwaves than what's floating around in our skies, because we don't know exactly what those things are. As he says, he's developing a sharper rule, meaning the Joe Biden administration, to track down, monitor, and potentially shoot down unknown aerial objects following 3 weeks of high-stake drama that's sparked by discovery of a suspected Chinese spy balloon and transitioning into other issues across the country. Now, there are, for those that do not know and may not have a telescope or may not pay attention to a lot of these things, there are an infinite amount of things floating around our skies. There are balloons, there are satellites, There are now drones. And the fact that it's becoming more open to the public means more of the public are actually using these tools to fly things around. And now there's the question of, what is your airspace? What are you allowed to do? Do you have to register it with the FAA? You have major towers like radio towers and satellite towers that are out there that different aviating objects need to be aware of so that way they don't crash into them. And Joe Biden now, is his genius response to all this is that we need more regulation and sharper rules, quote unquote, to track down and potentially shoot down and monitor and track the things that are floating around our skies. Because the overcompensation for the disaster they created is so bad, they're shooting down random balloons and random things that we don't even know what they are that have probably been floating around our skies for years now. But that's their grand plan, is more government regulation. More government regulation, more government control. Therefore, again, we can somehow fix the issue and make sure nothing happens, because they're going to enhance their technology. They're going to regulate these things even more to track down everything. I mean, they already do track down everything that we do, but they're going to do it even more so by regulating even the drones that you have to another degree of what they already have control over, because they're concerned about Chinese spy balloons that they allowed to happen. So we allow the Chinese spy balloon to float over the country. We shoot down random weather pattern balloons that our own private sector is using because we can't tell the difference. So either our technology really, really sucks because we can't tell the difference between the two, or there's a certain agenda behind the scenes here. And that agenda is the fact that we're controlling the airwaves a heck of a lot more. Maybe bleeding in, if you want to put the tinfoil hat on for the conspiracy theories about Project Blue Beam, which is being able to control and lock down things, militarize and weaponize space and our skies, because we just have to, because we're going to stage some type of UFO invasion or ET invasion. That's one theory out there. It's a little far-fetched, but with how much we're talking about this now, I wouldn't be surprised. The other issue now is, you remember the story that the boy who cried wolf? Oh, yes. Now we have the boy who cried wolf, because while we're shooting down random balloons with individuals saying, oh yeah, by the way, we had one working with NOAA and we can't find it anymore with our weather patterns. Now we have NORAD today with our headline of the day.
What's trending today?
Saying that now for 2 days in a row, Monday and Tuesday this week, they've intercepted Russian aircraft that are flying over Alaska. So we've shot down Chinese air balloons, or we didn't shoot it down, we shot it down after it was done. We're shooting down other weird objects that we have no clue what they are, and the government's not telling us anything about them. Now we have the Russians that are flying close into our airspace. According to Newsmax, the North American Aerospace Defense Command had to scramble fighter jets 2 consecutive days to intercept a Russian aircraft off the coast of Alaska. And they're supposed to say that, hey, they're telling us now, need to be prepared. They're getting really close to our airspace here. There could be potential conflict as the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone has been intercepted and intruded on by Russian aircraft. So be prepared. Again, fly with fighter jets scrambling to get into the air to defend our airwaves and our airspace. And we're supposed to just jump on board and just say, oh, okay, sure, go ahead and do that because the Russians are on the way now. This is after their overcompensation from the issues that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. I am concerned about the Russians because obviously they're a crazy communist dictatorship that wants to destroy the world, and Vladimir Putin doesn't care anymore because he's probably on his deathbed with cancer. Nonetheless, how much are we supposed to be in a panic state of paranoia of what's in our airspace because the government's been shooting down random weird balloons and drones, and yet we're now supposed to be concerned about something like this? Again, don't cry wolf unless there's something serious going on here. You've cried wolf 3 times now with shooting things down over the last week. How concerned are we supposed to be about this issue? That's the big question, isn't it?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently, as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming scheduled events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hooser Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hooser Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program on the home stretch here. Last few minutes of the program. Always appreciate you hanging out with us today. By the way, if you want to hear any more of this content, any of our other episodes, you're more than welcome to it. Our podcast, The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. Hooser, by the way, spelled with no I, Hooser. Also on our website at HooserReason.com. Our social media at Hooser Reason on all of your social media sites. It's all the same handle. Very easy for you to find. For as long as the interweb's allowed to be there, right? I mean, once everything crashes because China's going to be, blowing things up or shooting off that EMP. That's the theory, isn't it? Right? The whole reason for the balloon, spying where everything's at. There are some concerns about it, and I don't know whether it's going to be true or not, but let's hope to God not. Now we have the boy who cried wolf with the Biden administration overcompensating for blowing up and shooting down things out of the sky that we have no clue what they are, that are probably maybe just personal drones or something, or balloons out there for weather-related projects. The government wants more control over them, just like they do with the healthcare industry or social programs or the infrastructure plans or the environmental plans or whatever else they want to try to control. Government all of a sudden is going to regulate it, and it's going to be so much better. We start a new organization, we start a new agency or department, and then voila, everything just falls right into place here. Just like how well the train derailment was. If only we could have fixed those brakes. The Donald Trump deregulated back in 2018, then the axle wouldn't have broken for the train to be derailed. Because that makes all the sense in the world. In fact, it was Pete Buttigieg who has yet to get the money out there to revamp and overhaul some of the infrastructure, including rail cars, to make them more sustainable and a little bit stronger. Yeah, that's not the problem at all in any way, shape, or form. Now we have balloons, and now we have the boy who cried wolf, because now we have the Russian fighter jets that are flying close to Alaska, scrambling 2 days in a row now with the U.S. Air Force, trying to get fighter jets up there to ward them off. And are we going to get the answers from those? Probably not.
Only, and I mean only, if the pressure just keeps up. Congress has got to not get off of this. They've got to stay with this. Most of the senators that came out of the closed session briefing, the classified briefing, said they walked away with absolutely very little information, a whole lot of doublespeak. This is really dangerous stuff. We don't let other people's aircraft fly over our nation. We certainly don't trivialize spying on our nation. And when we don't know 100% what's on board these things, how can we honestly say that the American people will never endanger? And then why do we blow up crime scenes? Why don't we just shoot these things with bullets and recover them and then analyze them to find out what Chinese strategic intent is?
That was Blaine Holt, a retired Air Force Brigadier General on Newsmax. Not a whole lot of information coming out. They want more control and more regulation on just about every industry, but yet we want less of the information coming out to the public. I have to admit, whether you like Donald Trump or not back in the day, I enjoyed the fact that he stayed there for a press conference for 2-3 hours at a time, debating the media, talking about issues, giving out everything that they had with Task Force and with Mike Pence regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, that he was there. It was an open book. Again, whether you liked his administration or not, even as a Republican, that being in media like myself, his team, his entire administration, himself, the VP, his spokespeople, his media people, his people that work on the campaign, whatever, they were all the most open, transparent people I have ever seen working in media and radio in my life. Even as a host who obviously is not the most biggest syndicated host out in the world right yet. It's going to be, though, one of these days, I promise you. But as we continue, and even though we're a smaller, somewhat relatively radio show compared to other big national ones across the nation, still had opportunity to reach out to these individuals and get them on programs and talk to them on local levels all over the country. Why? Because sure, they wanted to promote their agenda. They understood PR and campaigning, which is why he was such a great, successful business guy, but he was open and transparent and wanted the information to get out there. Now we have the Biden administration where you have a guy running it who doesn't know what he's talking about because he doesn't remember who he is half the time. We have a press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, that just regurgitates whatever's in the binder. If it's not in the binder, then she says she can't answer that. And then when you ask her to elaborate further, she repeats what she just said that was within the binder because they don't want any other information to get out. And then even during classified meetings behind closed doors, they still do not have enough information to relate even to other elected officials to tell you what the hell's going on. So be scared, be paranoid, lock yourself in the house and just listen to the radio and listen to the TV on what the media is telling you to do so, but we're not going to give you any information on what's really happening. We apparently still don't know anything about the balloons that are being shot down or these objects that are being shot down. We're keeping the concept open to potential ETs, which is a bunch of bogus hooey right now, even though I believe in those things. That's not what these things are. We're not getting information on train derailments. We're not getting information on the Russian fighter jets. Nothing. But trust us and give us more power, because that makes all the sense in the world. That does it for us today. Back at it again tomorrow for the Friday. We're going to have some fun to wrap up the week tomorrow. Until then, be your own voice of reason. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason